Hello, everyone. Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I paused there a little bit. I am kind of tired, and I do have some news before we do the whole video thing. Last week, by the way, I pointed out the videos, but because I was also doing I was doing some other video. I was working on some other things. I was getting the render ready. I was getting all the footage recorded for the story thing we did last week. I didn't actually put any videos up here. This week, however, because patch 3.3 has been out, videos galore. Like, fuck it, just all the videos. I don't even know what videos. Probably put Nidhogg Extreme there, Weeping City, and like, I don't know, maybe the Amber Encased Vilekin strategy thing for the animal weapon. On top of that, I do have a quick announcement. Now, I said that this video was not going to be recorded on Sunday next week, so there would probably be less amount of time to actually ask the questions. So with that out of the way, I'm actually not going to E3. After coming back from PAX East, I got bronchitis. I got it at East, and then it just followed me home. And it still has some lingering effects. For the first, 3 weeks after I had bronchitis, I basically couldn't go up or down stairs more than a couple of times a day. Or I couldn't, walk up hills, or I couldn't walk for long distances because of the bronchitis. I would start getting chest pains. I thought I was past that, but I walked to the liquor store yesterday to grab some sours, and I got the chest pains again. So I was like, you know what, if I can't even walk to the liquor store, I shouldn't be going to E3 because there's going to be way more walking there. I'm going to have my chest pains way more often. It's not a good idea. The last thing I need is to go to another convention where I'm still recovering from the last one because of the bronchitis. So I decided I'm ultimately not going to E3. Mel's still going. I'm just not going. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I will be streaming this week. I will be co-streaming the Microsoft briefing the day this is airing. In fact, you'll probably have seen this after that's already happened. And then the Sony one later that night. So we will have our regular streams this week. And on top of that, we'll have some bonus streams for some E3 stuff. State of the Realm is still on Friday this week because I originally rescheduled it to Friday because I was supposed to be in Los Angeles for E3. It is still Friday. I'm not changing that because that's what the plan was. And we still want to have the E3 live letter as part of that, along with Very Merry, who we're going to be interviewing this week. So that's what we're going to be doing. I just wanted to let you guys know that that is still the current plan. I, however, have plenty of questions to get to because last two videos have been pretty long. So now that those announcements are out of the way, let's get right to it. All right, I read the first line before I even did this. So first question. Hi, Mr. Happy. Grindy McGrindy here. Loyal mod. He's a mod over on the Twitch chat for those of you who don't watch Twitch here on YouTube. Please excuse my absences here. Long-time viewer, not first-time questioner, although it's been a while. Have a first-time bonus from a Zalera alt. I have two questions that I feel are pretty solid, one may be pretty meh. Thanks for being upfront about it, friggin' grindy. Alright, he's here watching this live since we're recording it on Twitch. Last week, someone asked about 14 devs doing something new to compete in the MMO market as the game ages into the future, and I had an idea. Do you think it's possible that they could go more diagonal horizontal progression at some point? I ask this because power creep should be a real worry with vertical progression, as it was in World of Warcraft, and we saw how they solved it. Rather than doing a numbers crunch like WoW did before MoP, we could prevent some power creep with horizontal. So the ultimate problem with horizontal and diagonal progression is you need to create more interesting gear and stats. I've kind of answered this question before. You need more interesting stats, which is something they're totally working on, and I say totally even though I have no idea, just because in a more recent interview Yoshi P kind of said that the reason why set bonuses haven't happened yet is because they're very, very difficult to balance. So it's something that they're approaching very slowly. They didn't say they're not doing it, they just said they are approaching it slowly. They're working on it at a gradual pace, which means we could see set bonuses in 4.0. Even if they're lame set bonuses, I'd like to see that, but ultimately it feels like we're getting more options to gear with Deep Dungeon, with Tomestones, with Extreme Primals. I would like to see accessories return to the Extreme Primals fight. Savage. It seems, and I don't know what they're going to do with the diadem gear when it resurfaces in 3.4, 3.5. But it looks like we are getting more options. It's just a matter of, are these options just more options to get gear with the same stats, or will they eventually make them more interesting? I don't think that's ever going to solve anything, though, because that doesn't mean they increase the item level by less. That just means they create more opportunities to reach a certain item level. I don't see them stopping this vertical progression train. I think it is going to eventually continue to the point where we get a numbers crunch. We're not there yet, but I think it will eventually happen. 2, with the Eorzean Alliance likely going to retake Alamigo in 4.0, do you think it's possible in 5.0 the Garleans could be a playable race? I doubt it. I don't think there's ever going to be a point where I mean, here's the thing. If we do, it would be a defecting Garlean. Ultimately, though, that's kind of lame. Like, if anything, it would be a Hure with a jewel in their head. And also, don't all pureblood Garleans have, like, white or like blonde or white hair or something like that. I'm colorblind, so I don't know what color it is. So I mean, that kind of limits character creation as well. So, and then on top of that, Garleans can't use ether. So, except for Lucia, who does Cure 1 during the Grand Melee. So, I don't know. That kind of limits things. It's hard to believe And then on top of that, you're a Garlean coming to the city at level 1. They would have to create like a Death Knight kind of storyline for why you are a Garlean and you couldn't start at level 1. Or if you did, it would have to be a really strange first 10 level process. Because you being a Garlean at level 1, you know how fucked up that is, right? Like, you just think about that for a second. You know what I mean? And then, number 3 we have here, with Final Fantasy XIV launching on September 20, I mean, it's not September. Final Fantasy, oh, no, you're right, the original one. No, I think it was still September 27th, because it was August 27th for Realm Reborn. I'm 99% sure that maybe early access for 1.0 was the 27th, was September 27th, because I went to get it. I have a picture of me holding up the Collector's Edition from September 27th, 2010. So, September 30th? I don't know, maybe it was early access or something like that. Let's see. What do you think Square Enix is going to do? There's no way Yoshi P is going to want to compete with I'm a fucking idiot. You said Final Fantasy 15. I'm a fucking idiot. Don't worry. 3.4 is probably going to be like 3 weeks after, or 3 weeks before. I'm a fucking idiot. My apologies. It's either going to be 3 weeks before, 3 weeks after. It's either going to be right after FanFest, right before the Final Fantasy 15 launch. The thing is, just because Final Fantasy 14 gets a patch doesn't mean it's an MMO versus single player game. Like, they technically don't necessarily, it doesn't matter, but it does, because most of us playing 14 are going to say, fuck that, I'm not doing world first progression, I'm not raiding, I'm playing Final Fantasy 15. So, I think they'll either be a few weeks before or a few weeks after. At least enough time to maybe get world first, because I expect the world first for 3.4 take maybe a week and a half. I know I made that prediction for this. I said if it didn't take less than a week, it was going to take more than 2 weeks, so I have a feeling, though, that this next one's going to be a little easier than the second set of Alexander was, so we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, I don't think it'll affect it too much. I think they might delay it to late October, but I don't think they should do that either, so kind of in a rough place. All right, next question. Hey, Haps, 2 quick questions for you. 1, when do you think we'll get another blunt damage job? Anyway, I mean, technically we have them. The book smacks are blunt damage. I don't know, man. I don't know what they're waiting for. A lot of people thought that... This never made sense to me, by the way. A lot of people thought that Machinist was going to do blunt damage, and I was like, listen, I understand Final Fantasy XI had guns as blunt damage. I get it, right? You know what doesn't make sense? When you get hit by a bullet, does it bounce off you? No, it pierces you because it's at a velocity that pierces the skin. So it never made sense to me why people thought it was going to be blunt damage. It was ridiculous. I hope we see one soon. Like, it's kind of ridiculous that even after all this time, only Monk does blunt damage. The thing is, Dragon Kick has 2 utilities built into it. And if they add another blunt damage one, I wouldn't want the intelligence part to be a part of it, because the other job's going to have a blunt damage resistance. Like, I sincerely doubt... I mean, I get it that with Bard and Machinist and Dragoon, there's kind of a reliability there, but I don't see them doing it again. Like, Warrior has their own slashing debuff, Paladin doesn't, Dark Knight doesn't. Within the tanks, it's the only one. Within Ninja has its own slashing debuff in case you don't have a Warrior tank. Dragoon, Machinist, Bard, I know there's some inconsistencies there, but I have a feeling the new one is going to have its own blunt resistance thing. 2, what job and role would you like it to be? I don't know. People like to say, like, a Viking, but it's like, where does a Viking belong in Final Fantasy XIV? Like, with a hammer. Something with a hammer. Give me a hammer. I'll take a hammer. A hammer. Alright, next question. Hey, Mr. Haps, have a needle nose pliers to fix the nose cushion piece. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It just fucks up every time. It's because I adjust it. It's not like it does this. I do this, and then it just looks stupid, and then I just fix it like that. 2 questions. So one, with all the Final Fantasy VI references hinting at Sion, there hasn't really been a single one that's hinted at him. Actually, I guess with the new Warring Triad, it's possible, but I doubt it at the same time. There hasn't really been too many. There's been more Final Fantasy V references towards Galuf than there has been Final Fantasy VI references at Sion. And even so, them making a reference towards the characters does not necessarily mean that gear for that character is coming soon. I don't think Sion's... I don't think he's high on their priority list. I know some people like his character. I don't think he's high on their priority list at all. Since we both like Final Fantasy VI, what made you not pick Shadow as your game handle? What do you mean? I saw it, it just made me wonder. Oh, I don't name I'm someone who greatly despises using online handles and naming them after like Final Fantasy characters or anime characters. I'm sorry anyone who does that, but like I don't like. To me, it's like I've seen enough XX Sephiroth XXs to just want nothing to do with to just want nothing to do with that naming convention. Imagine if I got popular and my fucking name was XX Sephiroth XX. Just imagine that really quickly. If that was my YouTube name. Hey guys, XX Sephiroth XX here, bringing you another video about Sephiroth because I love him so much. No, I couldn't live with myself if that's what it came down to. So, Mr. Happy is what it was, and it's what it's going to be, and it's never going to change. Anyway, on to the next question. All right, next one. Hey, Hap, question for week 96. Oh, wow. Dude, it's 96. Dude, that means 104. I'm 8 episodes away from 2 years. That kind of keeps focus. Focus, camera. Focus. There we go. Okay. Have some chunky cookies. Question 1. Do you think 14 is going to have an event for the 7 remake? I do. It's not 7 HD. Let's be clear about this. It's not Final Fantasy VII HD. It's Final Fantasy VII Remake. HD is a very different thing. Final Fantasy 12 HD, definitely not. They didn't do shit for Final Fantasy X. They ain't going to do shit for Zodiac Age. By the way, 12 is my favorite. Question 2, do you think Diadem should be forgotten or can it be saved? I think they need to at least take one good attempt at saving it, because we all know that they don't like things to fail, and that's why Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn exists in the first place. So I want to see what they can do, because I think that there are some positives to the Diadem. It's just I cannot sit there and kill pterodactyls for 2 hours straight. I can't do it. Just give me some objectives, all right? And make it fun. They said they even want to do full area raids where everyone in the zone needs to participate to help beat a boss, and it actually has mechanics that are very dangerous if not done properly. So I want to see what they can do with that one. All right, next one. Hello, Mr. Happy. New poster, but here is a Kefka-shaped coffee mug. I don't know. I like Nebraska. See? Don't you guys love Nebraska? In fact, I love Nebraska. Anyway, I have 2 questions for you to help me with. 1. Ever since I left World of Warcraft, I've been trying to see, for 14, I've been trying to see if my friends will try the new trial post-patch. However, they whine that the global cooldown is too long and combat would be boring and slow, even though I told them it gets better. Is there another way I could show them how to combat? Show them a level 60 fight. Show them a summoner doing a level 60 fight. Show them a ninja doing a level 60 fight. Show them A3 Savage. Show them turn 8. Show them A8 Savage. Show them turn 7 Savage. Look for some endgame videos. Be like, this is what it's like. And then watch and find videos where people get fucked up because they screw up so bad, and funny videos and stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much your best bet. In all honesty, from what I've seen, most people who complain about the global cooldown, that's not the real reason they don't play World of Warcraft. A lot of the time, it's because they play World of Warcraft. They just need a reason. You're like, it doesn't look fun. My game is perfect. You know what I mean? It's the my game is perfect syndrome. Like, you know, I can never stop playing this. So we'll see. With Legion coming out, though, you're going to be hard pressed. I mean, that's the honest truth. With Legion coming out soon, they're probably going to just stick around World of Warcraft. 2, since I play on PS4 using a control. You know, that's weird. You played World of Warcraft, but then you decided to play Final Fantasy XIV on PS4. That's an interesting decision. Not that it's wrong. I just think it's interesting. Unless you hacked your PS4 and you played World of Warcraft on that. I've seen people do that. They install like an operating system on their PS3, like a Linux or something, and then they like emulate World of Warcraft. I've seen it done. It's just a pain in the ass. With the cross hoppers, the way to set up an extra cross hotbar for different classes. Every time I switch class, I have to take 3 or 4 skills. Oh, it sounds like you're sharing. It sounds like you're sharing your hotbars by accident. You need to go to your shared hotbars and your hotbar actions and unshare some of them, and then log in and then set each job. And then once you've set each job, you just need to set the hotbars once, and you'll be good to go. Grindy, did you answered a question on my fucking thread? Don't do that, Grindy. Don't answer people's questions on my threads. Why would you do that? God damn it. You don't mod the forums, bro. God damn it, dude. Alright, next question. Good evening, Mr. Happy. I hope you are enjoying 3.3 so far. Since I'm speaking to you from the past, I have no idea how the patch is at the moment. This is true. You don't know yet. That's it. Really? Has the patch? June 6th. Huh, you're right. This is the Monday where the servers were down that you asked this question. Alright, so, anyway, I have a couple of questions. You said a couple of questions, and then you asked me 3 questions. That's more than a couple. I feel lied to. 1, what kind of movies do you enjoy? It doesn't... anything that's not boring. Like, I like thrillers. I like action movies. I like comedies. I like Marvel movies. And I don't know. I kind of don't really have a specific thing. Like, I've definitely leaned towards comedy and action more than anything else. But to be honest, I don't watch a lot of movies. I don't watch a lot of anything. I just, like, I play video games, man. I like, you know what movies I like to watch? Final Fantasy XIV cinematics. There you go. I like to watch video game cinematics. More often than not, I will watch more. I'll go to YouTube and type in, like, fucking Spider-Man Dimensions or whatever. What was that? What was the one where you get to play as like 4 different Spider-Mans, like Shattered Dimensions? Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, the movie, and I'll just watch all the cutscenes from Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, pretty much. That's what I'll do. I have more fun doing that than going to the actual movies. So I'll just do that. There you go. 2, let's see. What game do you think would be the best film movie adaptation? I'm never happy with. I think like the best game to movie adaptations have been like Silent Hill. And I don't know. Silent Hill. There you go. And Silent Hill 2. There you go. I don't know. I don't like game to movie adaptations because I kind of accept that it's never going to be what I want, and I'd rather them not even try. Like I just know that I am going to be a hard ass when it comes to that, and it's just I won't be happy. I know I won't be happy. So I don't even want to see it attempted. So, 3, have you seen or will you see Warcraft? I have not seen it. I don't know if I'll see it. I'm definitely not seeing Assassin's Creed. Although I'm not gonna lie, the Warcraft movie, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it still. Like when I saw the earlier trailers, I was like, okay, it looks pretty good. And the closer the movie got, the less, I guess, excited I was for it. I guess it was the idea that it was so far away that I got kind of excited about, and now it's like a reality. And I'm hearing mixed reviews, but in all honesty, I'm the kind of person, if I hear a movie gets mixed to bad reviews, I'm more inclined to see it than if I hear it's good. Because if I hear it's good, it's like, okay, everybody's telling me it's good, I'll watch it when it hits DVD. If it's mixed or bad, I'm like, why? That movie looks so good. Why do they think it looks bad? Why does everyone saying it's bad? And I'll read the reviews, I'll be like, really? I gotta see it for myself. I gotta see if this movie's really as bad as everyone says it is. And then it's bad, and I go, wow, that was a waste of money. So that's bad. Don't do that. It's a bad idea, I admit. And then Assassin's Creed. I don't know. I have a very odd feeling the Assassin's Creed movie, as much as it's definitely going to disappoint, I have a feeling at the same time it's at least going to be entertaining from an action perspective, but it's like every other game movie. Everyone's going to be like, oh, they referred to something. Oh, and then it's like, that's all they talk about every time. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I probably won't see Warcraft, honestly. I still haven't seen Batman vs. Superman even, and I was excited to see that, so probably won't see it. All right, next question. Hola, Senor Feliz. 2 simple questions. 1, what was your favorite part of the patch and why? This is on June 7th. Wait a minute. Is this on June... This question is on June 7th. This person must have known... This is at 6:40 a.m. on June 7th, this question. They at least knew it was for Monday, but that's a crazy first question to ask. It's like, okay, patch is live. It's been live for 3 hours. Let me ask what his favorite part of the patch is going to be. That means that you peeled yourself away from the patch long enough to ask this question. I'm impressed, my friend. What was your favorite part of the patch? That's a tough one. Main story was really good. The Warring Triad quest was fun, but very short. Hildebrand I haven't done yet, but I hear it's very short. Nidhogg, normal. Come on, focus. Nidhogg, normal, and extreme. Both solid fights. I do think Nidhogg Extreme is a little easier than Sephiroth, only because we're a little bit more geared for him than we were for Sephiroth when he came out. And on top of that, you can't be permanently ejected from the fight. The worst part of Nidhogg Extreme is if people die and then you have to split Ockmorns with fewer than 8 people. That's the hardest part of the whole fight, is dealing with that. So, and the Dark Dragon dive phase is also pretty difficult. So, but then you have the Weeping City, which is easily the best 24-man raid they've ever done. As much as people are struggling with it, and people are having those first week jitters, it's easily, aesthetically and boss-wise, the best 24-man they put together, in my opinion. So they did a lot. They did a lot of really good things. The Aquapolis has been phenomenal. It's so repetitive, but when I'm doing the Aquapolis, I'm not like, oh man, again for the 5th time. I'm like, yes, Aquapolis. Did we make it to the second floor? It's that thrill of trying to make it to the end that just keeps me doing the Aquapolis. And the Deep Dungeon is looking good, but we won't know for another 4 or 5 weeks. And also, what was your least favorite part of the patch? I just don't like that Hildebrand has kind of just... It just feels like he's shoehorned into patches because we asked for him, and that's our fault. they had him planned for 2.1 to 3.0, right? Or 2.1 to 2.5, I should say. And we said we really liked him, we want more of him. And they were like, we only planned until 2.5. We wanted it to have an ending. And now people want it again, so let's try to get it back in there. And in their desire to make us happy, they're kind of just writing just enough Hildebrand to make sure he has a place. But it's in no way the same quality as Hildebrand has been. So I honestly, until they reach a point where Hildebrand is cohesive with their development and he's not kind of tacked on, I kind of don't want them to continue Hildebrand after they finish the current story that they're doing, because it's just not worth them putting development time into something that's so minimally impactful on the patch. I kind of felt that way about Warring Triad 2. As fun as it was, it could have been... I'd have traded the 15 minutes of Hildebrand for 15 more minutes of Warring Triad stuff this patch. Not another trial, but like 15 minutes of just that, of more dialogue or more story or anything. So that's probably my least favorite part of the patch so far is Hildebrand. Alright, next question. Hiya, Haps. Long-time Army member. First time coming over here to ask a question. I see your name. I know who you are. So have some Tomes of Luck queuing in the Raid Finder. Okay, that's another piece of content I haven't done yet, is the Raid Finder. I actually have two questions in mind. One, do you feel Savage has become too scripted in terms of mechanics? Well, I tend to prefer fights that over say, like an easy damage sponge. Those complaints keep cropping up around the forums. I don't think so. Like, if you look at any MMO fight that isn't just entirely based on RNG, it's in some way scripted. Even fights that are RNG are scripted in some way. Like, I mean, a lot of people like to compare Final Fantasy XI, like, oh, Nidhogg could just do fucking wing attack 6 times in a row and fuck your ass. Alright, great. It didn't matter how good or bad you were, you just had to spam AoE heals. And then you could pull aggro and die because of the way the enmity system worked in that game. You hit a cap, and then when somebody else hits that cap, it's whoever depreciates first that actually loses aggro. So, like... That's not even luck. That's literally like, I decided to hit you 6 times, and now this game has a way of dealing with enmity that isn't infinitely scaling. So now eventually you might get one shot because the boss just says fuck you. But even so, that's still scripted in such a sense that when he hits a lower HP, he gets access to spam that ability 6 times in a row because he constantly refreshes his TP. So there's always some form of scripting, even in random, and when something is random, you need to make sure it's random within certain parameters. Otherwise, it's just not fun. I mean, I can't think of any mechanics off the top of my head right now, but think about mechanics that you basically beg for it to not hit certain people. That, as soon as you've hit that point, the mechanic is probably, by the community standards, too random. It's like, oh, okay, if it hits these people, it's a joke. If it hits these people, it's not a joke. At that point, you have to consider maybe perhaps it was better if it just hit certain people that it was intended to hit. And then it was like, now it's more predictable, but it's also not this great variance in like, oh, is it easy, is it hard? Like, for example, if your fucking main tank gets all the lasers in A7 Savage, who gives a shit? Like, no one cares. He's fine. He's the main tank. People are healing him anyway. So, I know some of those lasers are coded to not be able to hit the main tank. They're very clearly coded to not be able to hit the main tank. But it's just a matter of, if there's too much variance, you have to, and people start questioning how it's developed, then all of a sudden it's not too scripted. It's now hit a point where people feel it is too random. So I don't think that Savage is too scripted, because it's still a matter of executing on the few random mechanics that are there, mechanics appearing in a random order or happening somewhat randomly on who they're targeting, and then reacting to them on some degree. Let's see. And then we have the second question here. Carrying over from the first question, an idea I keep hearing is to make 24-man raids the hard content and somehow allow more people to queue into Savage than 8. Do you think either would help with the clear rates, or even I don't think harder 24-mans. I think Weeping City is the hardest 24-man should probably get. If they're gonna do more than that, it'll probably be in the Diadem. Like the bosses that are these full area raids that they're saying they want to do, that'll be the closest thing you'll get to something that's more challenging for 24 or more people. Just because, I mean, Weeping City, I saw somebody say this. Weeping City reminds me of why I stopped raiding 25-man heroics in World of Warcraft. It had nothing to do with the fights being too difficult. It had nothing to do with the mechanics being too difficult. It was that I couldn't handle having so many other people that if they screw up, it's over for all of us. That was the only thing that made it hard. A lot of people like to make the joke in the Weeping City, man, the fights aren't that bad, but the 23 ads you queued in with sure are. That joke pretty much carried over back in 25-mans in World of Warcraft. It's like you could be in a world-class raiding guild, you still have one or two people that don't play very well. And then whenever a mechanic targets those people, you're like, please, 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 fuck. Okay, there you go. So I'm not a big fan of difficult content for larger people, because at that point the content's not more difficult because it's more difficult. It's more difficult because you have more people who can fuck it up. So I don't advocate for that. I do think that having more difficult content for less people is better. I do think that having more difficult 4-man content is better. I do think having more access to more difficult 8-man content is better. But having more difficult 24-man content, or having even larger scale stuff that's that difficult, in no way benefits the game. Because you know what? The more people doing it, the more people that are going to ask for a nerf. And you know they'll get it. Alright, let's move on to the next question. Hey, Hap, I'll give you a pun later. Oh, it's you. Have a question for that. Let's see. 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, or 3. Let's go with 2. When I do a dot ability like Fracture +++, why are there 3 plus signs here? There's no Fracture. I don't know Warrior as well as I used to, but there's definitely no Fracture +++. And my Fracture hit crits do all the dot ticks crit. No, every dot tick has its own individual chance of critting. If you have a 20% crit chance, every individual dot will have a 20% chance of crit. Now, that's almost true in every case. Kasatsu is the only instance where that's not true. A Kasatsu Doton will crit every single hit. No other job does that. No other job guarantees you a 100% crit chance on all your dots, other than a Kasatsu Doton. He's got a pun. He's got a pun. And now the pun. The father. Oh, what is this? This isn't even a pun. The son. So I get it, because it's fucking Hojo and Sephiroth and the whole. That's not a pun. That's a whatever. It's not a pun, but that's their actual father. That's both of their fathers, as far as I'm concerned. Alright, on that poor pun, let's move on to the next question. Hey, Haps, not a first-time poster, but please accept 3 gallons of the milk of Moogle kindness. You're welcome. Wow, you are a kind human being. You're a kind human being. Anyway, my question this week is simple. What is your opinion? What would be the best stats to raise for Paladin Anima? Okay. I'm going to answer you before I read the rest of the question, because I'm afraid of what you're going to ask. Because whenever I get asked this, there's usually one stat present that I'm not happy about. I haven't read it yet. I've only read those first 2 lines. Crit and det. The final 5, either accuracy or skill speed. I don't know. It's split into thirds. 2/3 of the stats go on the sword and 1/3 go on the shield. Okay. I was thinking full det and parry. No. Crit det. I want you to say it back to me. Crit det. Crit det. Crit det. Never. Never. Put parry, don't meld parry, don't put it on your relic, don't even look at it. Now, that being said, they said they might rework parry in 3.4. I'll give you that. They said they might rework parry in either 3.4 or 4.0. If they do and it ends up being worthwhile, I'll look like an idiot here. But as of right now, don't ever put parry on anything. I'm putting the rest of the crit. Crit det. Crit det, crit det, crit det. Should I go full det and crit and then put the rest of parry? Don't put any in the parry. Or should I forego parry altogether? Yes! That's what you do! That's what you do! Your last sentence! Do that! Hey! I like it. Alright, on that note, let's move on to the next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. I hope you're enjoying 3.3. I am. Have some Umbrites. Thank you. I'm 30 out of 80 Umbrites out of the way. So, I'm doing pretty good so far. I'm over 1/3 done with the current step. So, let's see. I have some questions related to patch 3.3. So, 1. Some of my FC mates were talking about the gear of the Weeping City, more specifically the chest piece, to be almost as good as the one obtainable from Savage or the upgraded lore. Is it true? So, you're talking about the Paladin chest piece? I'll pull up, you know what? I can tell you right now. ffxiv.areala.com. We'll go to Paladin. We'll go to body pieces. So, we're talking about the Yafim Mail of Fending, which is 74 accuracy, and... No. No. They can't be trolling you. Where's the other stat? It can't be a fucking accuracy parry. This is a troll. It's an accuracy parry! Don't touch that thing! Get away from it! It's got accuracy and parry. No, the Yafim Mail Offending is in no way, shape, and form anywhere close to being as good as the other pieces when it's accuracy parry. That is an awful piece. It's an I-230 piece, so if you have like an I-220 piece, it's an upgrade from that. In no way, shape, or form is it... Good thing we just had this question. No. The augmented Hellfire one is det skill speed. I have a feeling you can't get away without having accuracy, though. So it might just be the fact that it has 74 accuracy that's making them say that, because you might need that accuracy in Savage, because I don't know where you're going to make it up if you don't. But the Maiden co-defending with the accuracy crit, that is definitely the way to go if you need accuracy. And the Yafim one, if you're not even doing Savage at all, then yeah, if it's the highest item level one you can get, then it's good. But even then, the Hellfire armor offending, as long as you don't need the accuracy, the I-230 one, you'll be better off with that. Way better off than that. 2, for upgrading my lore pieces, which order would be the most optimal? So first of all, without knowing your job, the only consensus I can give you is weapon over body over legs. Well, I'm sorry, weapon over body equal to legs. Because the weapon, if you can get a Gob Dip from A7 Savage, is clearly your best upgrade always. The body and the legs have an equal amount of distribution of offstats. It just depends which one has the better offstats. So in this case, looking at the Hellfire armor having det skill speed, and then looking at the legs having accuracy parry, if you don't need the accuracy, I actually like the Yafim legs. The tank legs are accuracy crit. The Maiden breaches are crit det, which as long as you have the accuracy requirement is really good. But the Yafim chain hose, the legs, they're actually pretty good. Accuracy crit, the Hellfire breaches being accuracy parry. If you can get your hands on those legs and you're not doing Savage or you're not having issues, I'd probably upgrade the Hellfire body in this case. Just comparing, not excluding Maiden gear, because it sounds like that's what you're talking about. I would probably go along that route somehow. And then we have 3. I got a small lot in the mist. Not the one I wanted, but I still consider myself lucky. I also scrolled past the question. I am not a reseller, but many people bought it as a business opportunity. What is your stance about housing resellers? You know what? I played my fair share of MMOs. I know of all the little quote-unquote underhanded things that are possible to do, and a lot of them. Housing reselling is one of them. People have been banned for it, so I probably wouldn't recommend it if you're considering it. I've seen people in the Party Finder have reports of them getting contacted by GMs, and then other ones have been contacted and haven't even been contacted. Like we've heard things on both ends of the spectrum. So I'm not a big fan of it in this case, but in all honesty, we can blame housing resellers for why not everyone has a house. You can also blame Square Enix for making the housing system the way that they did. I think that's the more important thing, is that yes, when it was just free company houses and they were limited, it was somewhat acceptable. When they decide, and they promised us back in 2.1, personal housing will not mix with free company housing. Their mistake was making personal housing mix with free company housing, because that's the reason why this becomes a problem. So I'm not going to blame the house resellers. They're abusing the system because of the way it was designed in the first place. I think the bigger deal here is that Square Enix decided to make it this way. I think that is the bigger problem. And then you have another question right here. Given the housing and other stuff like new items, many people at the beginning of the patch seem to pay absurd amount of money. I cannot help but wonder where all this money comes from. Money is really easy to make and generate in this game. Challenge logs. Think about this. Think about if 5,000 people did all their challenge logs every week. That's millions of gil right there, just being generated out of thin air. You have dungeons, mobs dropping gil. Final bosses dropping gil, roulette's dropping gil, the Aquapolis now dropping gil, maps dropping gil. Gil has become an increasingly common, just passive revenue thing. It's very much just constantly building up from bosses and from doing all those types of content. So it's just that gets redistributed. Some people sell items, and the wealth is redistributed to them. Then when they have all this gil, they can spend whatever they want on it. That's what you have to remember. The gil's constantly being generated, and then it's being redistributed to the people who provide a service or an item or something along those lines. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not like you can just go, oh, this person bought gil. No, a lot of people have a lot of gil, and they haven't touched RMT. It's because they're redistributing the wealth to themselves by offering a service, offering items, things like that. So keep that in mind, especially this patch with the Aquapolis bringing in so much gil. Gil is just constantly being passed back and forth between every other player. All right, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. Today I have a question that is a rather sad topic. The questions don't really need the story that follows the answer, but I feel the stories are somewhat important. All right, let's take this one seriously. Today, 6-11 in the Weeping City of Muk. 20 people died to the final boss, leaving 4 members of my group. Our tank, 1 white mage, and 2 DPS, who ended up doing the last 20 to 15%. I know a warrior who soloed the last 25%. Well, I don't know that warrior, but I know there's a warrior out there who has soloed the last 20 to 25% of that boss. Soloed. Our healer LB3 burned, and 4 members in our group, including the other white mage, go down again. Try as I might to revive the healers and the other alliance groups, no one stayed alive long enough to revive their groups. When the boss finally died, we were rather tired from the fight, but it was a lot of fun. Okay, okay, maybe it's not like sad. Like I thought it was gonna be like sad, like I lost a family member recently and I played the game with them or something. Sad? You mean sad like a oh my god, this is so sad, kind of sad. Okay, I got it. Switching the mentality. Not a single one of us was salty or bitter towards the other 20 members, yet I know that several people in my own link shell who would not have taken the fight nearly as well. In fact, after several arguments on the forums and even another one on this very same topic in my link shell today, I was reminded of a video that, as a fellow X11 player, you might be very familiar with. Link to the video. If you get a chance, read it before you've given a recording. A little Final Fantasy XI story. I've never watched this. I'm unfortunately not going to be able to watch it now. So, 1. Do you feel that some players who take this game way too seriously? There are people who take every game way too seriously. People just gotta remember. The thing is, you can't just tell people who take it seriously, oh, it's just a game. As somebody who grew up using video games as sort of, not so much as an escape, but as a means of as socializing. Like if you've watched Ethos' Lucid Grind, I explain this in some great detail. That I didn't necessarily try to escape life and like try to be another person in a video game. I used it because it was my way of like getting past any issues I was having in real life. Like, oh, if I play this game, I use it to socialize, talk to friends, whatever. It makes me forget about all the other issues I might be having. But I'm not actually like role playing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of the time, if somebody ever talked down to me in the game or about my choice of like choosing games, I would get very offended and I would take it way too seriously. Looking back, I mean, I can't really judge anyone differently because that was me when I was 14, 15 years old. Now, I'm obviously, some people are not 14, 15 years old. They're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and they're acting this way. But absolutely, people take games seriously. For some people, it's more than just a hobby. For some people, it's something to get their mind off of it. And as soon as you disrupt that mental aspect of it where they're in their happy place, then it's a big deal. It's a huge deal to them. It was a huge deal to me, so I definitely imagine it's a big deal to them. 2, Square Enix, I think, has been adding things that encourage competition for PvP, speedrunning, and such. While I don't think it's a bad thing, far from, do you think it might encourage the overly serious types since they tend to be the more competitive ones as well? Yeah, I mean, you can't add something that's competitive without getting people who get over-competitive. A solid example was actually at Fan Festival. It was myself, Joe Never, and a few of our friends on a PvP team. And a lot of people remember Joe for shouting at the other healers and like giving them this, like, get fucked. And that's because he's super competitive. That's what he does when he gets into the mode. I was super excited that we had 0 deaths. And so I was like, yeah, that's fuck yes. Can't believe we did that. To some people, that's overly serious, overly competitive. And when I'm streaming PvP, if I kill someone, I'm like, oh, fucking got him. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do that when I'm PvPing as well. So, you know, it definitely happens. Even for some of us that are nice people, it's just when it's competitive, it brings out a side of you that you don't see. It's like a baseball fan kind of thing at an away game. It just gets crazy, and it is what it is. Yeah, it's unavoidable that some of the more competitive people are going to come out. You know what I mean? And then 3, on a lighter note, so this question's on a lighter note. Let's see what it wraps up with. 3, since we've touched up on the 1 tank, 1 healer DPS in the last one, if Samurai is the DPS or tank, as everyone is assuming it will be, what do you think the other 2 will be? I don't think we're going to do 1 tank, 1 healer, 1 DPS. We can't sustain that. There's also the possibility of get 4 jobs. You got to remember that in 2.x, we got Ninja, and they said that was a really, really bad idea. Because releasing it was very stressful on the development team in terms of rebalancing. It was almost, to them, the equivalent of launching an expansion. So it's possible that we'll get 4 jobs, and that with that, we have a few more options for what jobs are going to be added. I think that's too many. I don't think you can sustain launching 4 jobs in expansion. I think there's just going to be way too many balance issues, but I'm leaning towards we may not see 1 tank, 1 healer, 1 DPS. So if the other 2 would be, I mean, Red Mage, I'm banking on Red Mage being the DPS, if anything. not a healer, not a support, not anything else. I'm banking on them being a DPS if they're added. And then I don't know what the last one would be. I mean, Geomancer could be a healer. Dancer, people say, could be a healer. But there's a lot of options. So I don't know where they're going to go. And I'm curious to see if they do decide to go with the 1-1-1 deal like they did last time. All right, next question. Hi, Happy. First timer, so have some bonus SOs for those Umbrites. You guys are giving me the correct bonuses now. I like it. I like getting bonuses again from these questions. Speaking of Umbrites, my question for you pertains to the newest Anima step in the patch. As a healer, and someone who doesn't do endgame rating, but does run extreme primals, okay, that's a good thing. What stat should I be putting on my Anima? So, I'm sure the big question here is, yes, you were thinking 120 crit, 100 piety, and 20 accuracy. So, I mean, here's the thing. Accuracy is really only good in Savage and Extreme Primals. And their use is limited. It's only when you're DPSing that accuracy matters. Or in the case of some Scholar, when you need to hit energy drains as well. So, I guess it depends on how frequently you're doing Extreme Primals, because you definitely want some accuracy, and the rest of your gear is going to have accuracy. And it also depends on how close you're trying to get to the accuracy caps. I am someone who advocates if you're doing Savage, your Anima weapon should have full accuracy on it if you're a healer. What you do with the rest, I don't really know. I know a lot of people, as like, for example, as a white mage, they go spell speed because crit is some... Okay, so Muni Evans, he's currently a black mage in the what earned world first in patch 3.2 for Alexander Savage. But he has a wealth of white mage knowledge because he was in the world progress for pretty much everything else as a white mage. And his mentality is this. Once you've figured out how to clear a fight, you know exactly when you need to cast a spell, assuming nobody makes a mistake, you know how much time you have to make up for people's mistakes or anything along those lines, then you all of a sudden have ruled out X amount of stats. You know exactly how much MP you need, so extra piety is only good for making up for mistakes, which actually puts it high on the list of stats you can use. Crit is useless. You're never going to heal someone and say, I'm going to wait one more hit because I want to crit you. You're never going to do that. So crit all of a sudden falls out, becomes a purely DPS stat, which is an important DPS stat, I will give you that. Determination, just not as effective. It's not great on heals, it's not huge on your DPS, so throw that one to the wayside. Again, you don't need the increased healing. You've already calculated out all the heals that you need. So that leaves spell speed, piety, accuracy. Accuracy ensures that when you are dealing damage, you're actually hitting. Considering healers need so much accuracy, it becomes their highest DPS increase. Accuracy until cap is by far a healer's highest DPS increase, over crit, over det, over everything. After that, spell speed, piety. It's a matter of, do I want to have all this extra MP for people's mistakes / my DPS so I can DPS more freely without having to worry about MP? Or do I want the extra spell speed so I can push out my heals faster and or in my DPS faster and get to these extra spells that I need to cast based on people's mistakes or based on spot healing or things like that? So those are really what he found to be most valuable. Now, people are free to disagree with those things, but I really enjoyed that insight into White Mage since I hadn't really healed anything serious at the point where he had told me this. It hasn't changed much from what I understand in recent times. So if you're not doing Savage, the 20 accuracy I think is adequate if you're adding accuracy to the other pieces. The piety I feel is an okay choice based on what we discussed before. The crit though, I would go with the spell speed. I think that you could change this around for the spell speed, the piety, and the accuracy. I think you would be pretty good with those choices. Alright, and on that note, we have, I think, 4 more questions left on the forums. 4 or 5 more. Let's see. Hey, Happy, just a question regarding Heavensward Extreme Trials, or Expert Trials. I don't know which one. I'm assuming he means EX Trials. Do healers need accuracy for them? Hey, we just talked about that. So I'm just going to retcon what we said before. It's not as important in Extreme Primals. It's more important in Savage. But if you are doing Extreme Primals fairly frequently and you're DPSing, yes, you should be considering accuracy on your item. Your question is basically exactly the same as the last person's, so take everything I just said and put it towards your answer. Because that's crazy. 2 the same question in a row pretty much from 2 different people. So I don't mind though, because that means I've answered it already. We can move on to the next one. Alright, let's see what the next one is. Hey there, Mr. Happy. First time poster. So as a bonus, I almost said boaster. Have a flying Odin mount and a food of your choice. Hot wings. First and foremost, I wanted to say thank you very much for all your hard work making the guides. Me and my friends have used them all the time, and without you would probably stay wiped on the floor. You're all Dragoons? Wow. That's really cool for you and all your friends that play Dragoons. That and you helped me choose my summoner main. Womp womp. I was wrong. Joke has been thrown out the window. So again, thank you. just a few questions. Well, first of all, no problem, man. I'm just glad you enjoy the videos. Luckily, there's plenty of resources nowadays for you to get guides, whether it be Elysium forums, my videos, Mystics videos, Xeno's videos. Tons of people make videos and guides nowadays. Luckily, I'm happy that you still decide to use mine as a resource. One, when it comes to weapon development, is it better to go for lore, anima, or savage weapon for your upgrade? Okay, this depends entirely on what you play as. The final Savage weapon will almost always be your best weapon since it is a higher item level. Some jobs that's proven not to be the case in the past, but in this case, it will almost definitely be. Anima and Lore are two different avenues. Lore can currently only go up to I-230. Nidhogg goes up to I-235. The new Deep Dungeon weapons will probably be I-230, I-235, and then the Anima weapon goes up to 240. Did I say Anima 235? I said Horde, Nidhogg. Horde, Nidhogg weapon 235, sorry. Anima goes to 240. So your upgraded Lore gear, your Anima are the two interchangeable ones at I-240. You'll probably be able to upgrade your Lore weapon at some point, but the Anima is something you really got to want to do since you can customize its stats to really make whatever it is that you want. So Anima's kind of a stretch. Lore weapon is more than adequate for everything. So I'd recommend going for that first and foremost. Then getting the Nidhogg weapon, and then maybe an upgraded Lore weapon eventually. I'd say that that's probably your lowest effort upgrades that you could do, but it's still going to be some time before you'll get to 240 weapon doing that. 2, for the new Nidhogg Extreme Fight, congrats on your swift day 1 completion. Hey, only took us about 80 minutes. What would you recommend as the party's item level? 225 to 230. Because you can't permanently be ejected from the fight, having a closer to minimum item level is a little bit safer on him. The toughest part for you at that item level will definitely be Akmorn. I'd like to point out that I've now healed that fight. I have Vitality Melds as my healer. They have saved me so much. From this point on, if you are doing Extreme Primals, if you are doing Savage, it may be worth it to just throw some Vitality on your accessories as opposed to throwing other off stats. That's if you're not a tank, of course. But I think 225, 230 is a fair thing. The biggest issue is DPS, of course, with the ad phase, not even with the full fight, with the ad phase. But at 230, with a 230 weapon, you should be more than adequate. Like, if people are failing the DPS check there, that is a matter of them not playing their jobs properly, not a matter of it not being a high enough item level. So, unfortunately, that's all you can do. And lastly, 3, out of curiosity, why is Ninja your favorite job? It actually isn't. It's my main. Well, it was my main back when I raided, but it was never my favorite. It was a great transition, though. I'd always wanted to play Monk, and I got stuck on Bard until Ninja came out. I was like, guys, I already have the accessories. Let me change to Monk. I mean, let me change to Ninja, because I already have the accessories. It's an easy dex-to-dex transition. I had to learn entirely how to play melee DPS. I had no idea, because I had never done it at that point, pretty much. So it was a nice learning experience, got through Final Coil with it, and it's still a fun job, but now that I have so much more freedom to play my Monk, and I can do Monk, I've done Nidhogg as Monk, I've done it as Astro, I've done it as Ninja, I've done A1 through 4, I've done A5 Savage as Monk. I'm getting more comfortable with the job. I'm still not happy with where I am there, just because I'm so much more familiar with Ninja, and even to this day, I would definitely, if somebody said, hey, I need to clear 5 through 8, we need a fill-in, I would go as Ninja, not Monk, just because I wouldn't want to waste their time. So, that's how I feel about that. Monk is actually my favorite, not Ninja. That's why if you look at my YouTube channel, you notice the banner on my channel is me as a Monk. That was the original plan. I was supposed to main Monk, so I'm just fulfilling that late prophecy right there. Alright, next question. Hi, Happy. First timers have some bonus things. Umbright. More Umbright. With new Moogle Beast Tribe quests being for crafters, do you think we'll ever get a Beast Tribe for gatherers? That's a good question. I'm actually surprised that they don't kind of throw in a few gathering quests with the crafter quests. Or do they? No, they don't. I'm actually a little surprised they don't, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, gatherers are like bringing collectibles back or something. I don't know. Like, I'd be down for it, but I don't think we'll see it. And this is also the last Beast Tribe of Heavensward, so no more Beast Tribe quests after this. I'm actually really curious to see about that, because with no more Beast Tribe quests in Heavensward, that's been confirmed. It was confirmed in the interview that I reviewed the other day. I'm wondering what that means, because that's resources. You know, they don't have to story write those at all. They don't have to develop quests for them. They don't have to develop rewards for them. Like, that's a lot of time saved, and they don't have to like create areas for them and shit like that. So I'm wondering where that development's going to go for the remainder of the expansions, or the remainder of this expansion until we get to the next one and probably get some Beast Tribes there. But yeah, I don't think we'll ever see Gather exclusive Beast Tribes. Alright, and the final question, which was asked today. In fact, this person came by the stream. They may even still be here. I don't know. They were here earlier. I saw them gambling, and they said hi and everything. So, hi happy, x3. I don't know if you're making the face or if you're saying times 3, like hi to me 3 times. I don't know. Second time asking a question, and one more of your opinion. And I wonder if you can say hi. Well, I mean, it's not like Sly who has the hey. You know what I mean? Before that, though, I think I should expand on my question from last week. So I don't remember what the question was, so it looks like you're going to remind me here. Before that, though, I should expand on my question from last week. On the question I asked about making Gil, I was hoping for a more low-level pre-Heavensward guide. So if you're going to do that, by the way, if you're looking for that, watch my YouTube series, my Healer Happy series, my tips and tricks, because I actually explain very often how to save Gil while leveling up and how to make Gil while leveling up. So if you're looking for something like that, I think I had over a mil by the time I hit 50, I think, is Healer Happy. So keep that in mind. Definitely go through all that, because that will definitely give you some tips. Just skim through the videos, see what I'm doing, and listen to what I'm talking about. Now, on to the question for this week. I've recently been using Dark Knight and having fun with it, but I don't know if I'm doing the mechanics correctly. Specifically, the use of Darkside and Grit. I activate Grit only for tanking lots of mobs and switch to Darkside. So here's the thing. So yeah, definitely you don't want to have only one or the other. Darkside is pretty much something you want permanently on. If you ever run out of MP and it falls off, great, get some MP back, turn it back on immediately. Always have Darkside on. That is like a #1 go-to thing for Dark Knight, so it's a good thing you asked about that. The only time I have both on is during ad phases of bosses where I need to contribute damage. Also, I was wondering if there's a more efficient way of using stances. So that's the thing about Dark Knight. Darkside's not really a stance. Grit is a stance. Yes, Darkside is technically a stance, but let me explain. Grit is what it's like. I either have tank stance on or I don't. The thing that's comparable to Grit is Blood Weapon. Blood Weapon's not exactly a stance, but when you have Grit on, you can't have Blood Weapon, and when you have Blood Weapon on, then you're obviously not in Grit. So that's where you're making your decision between one stance or the other, equivalent to like Defiance Deliverance versus Sword Oath, Shield Oath, things like that. So you want Darkside on permanently, unless you run out of MP and it falls off on its own, in which case your goal is to get it back up immediately. So that's the best way I could explain that. And for your opinion, what do you think of an addition of an in-progress party selection window? So do you mean like a party finder for in-progress? Like, so for example, you have your friends here that say, oh, I'm typing in free company. Can anyone queue in progress for Hullbreaker hard mode? We need a tank. And then the person goes to do it, but they don't get your party, they get a different party. So almost like a call to help kind of thing. It would be cool, theoretically, if you could call to help in a dungeon. Like, you could invite someone from outside of a dungeon who's on your data center or on your server into your dungeon, so that way they could fill the slot and you could organize who's filling the slot. I'm thinking of ways you could abuse that, though. And you know what? There's a lot of ways to abuse that system. Like, here's one off the top of my head. Let's say you can do that. You buy, somebody starts selling an ESO farming service, a low effort ESO farming service, where they will do everything in the dungeon up to the last boss, and then kick one of the people who are there, and then invite you to just do the last boss. So you can do whatever you want while you're waiting on them to get to the last boss, and you're paying them per run for esoterics, basically, to invite you just for the last boss and get you the Essos. That would be a thing immediately. I can tell you right now 4 people would start selling esoterics or start selling tomestones like that. And there would be people to buy. I know some people are like, I could just AFK in the feast, or I could just do some shit like that. But think about how much people don't like farming esoterics. That would happen. I guarantee you that would happen right there. So, I mean, there's definitely more abuse cases than that. You could also run into situations where somebody's like, hey, I need my expert, right? Is anybody available? And you have 3 people doing an expert, and they're like, oh, hey, we're on the last boss of this expert. If you want, we'll kick the last guy so you can join ours. You know, it gets progressively worse from there. So there's a lot of ways that you could abuse that system. So not to say that they shouldn't do it. They could obviously add safeties for that, but like I've already thought of 2 instances that could get abused, and there's way more than that. So I don't see that ever happening, unfortunately. But that's the last question over on the Dream Network forums. I am now going to take a few questions from the live Twitch stream, so let's get a few of those out of the way. All right, so I'm going to kind of repurpose this question from the chat because it's relevant to the fact that E3, I'm not going to E3 anymore, but there's still conferences, and you can co-stream the conferences. So question here is, will you re-stream the Bethesda conference tonight? And then also, I'll extend that question to Microsoft and Sony. I don't know if tonight's Sunday, of course. Like, you guys are seeing this on Monday, but the Bethesda conference will have already happened. I don't know if I'm going to restream Bethesda. I am definitely restreaming Microsoft. I'm definitely restreaming Sony, which are both on Mondays. Xbox is Monday morning. Sony is Monday night. So I'll definitely be doing those two. So if you're watching this now, definitely be sure to come by. And I answered that kind of earlier in the question, but for all of them, all throughout the week, I don't think I can restream the Square Enix things, because the Square Enix things aren't on the official E3 Twitch page, which is the only page you're allowed to restream from, or the official E3 ones. That'll probably be on Square Enix Presents. So I think, yeah, I'll just do Microsoft and Sony, but I don't think I'm going to do Bethesda tonight, and I'm definitely not going to be able to restream the Square Enix ones. I'll live stream during them so I can do live reactions, but I can't restream them more specifically. All right, and then we'll take the next question from the Twitch chat. Mr. Happy, as a broadcaster and content creator, what's the most difficult thing you've sacrificed to make your dream a reality? That's a deep question. That's a very deep question. Personal time is a big one. I don't know if that's the biggest one, but let me just break down what my days are like for you. So I wake up, and immediately I'm in work mode. So I wake up, it's usually shower, brush your teeth, start making coffee, make some breakfast, check emails before the stream starts. Then it's pre-stream, interact with the chat a little bit, do anything like if I'm still making coffee or still haven't eaten, I'll finish that up. Use the restroom before I get started, make sure the green screen is set up, the camera's working, and then start the stream, go live for 5 hours on average. Sometimes we extend it to 6 or 7. And then I immediately end, and my first thing is, okay, I'm going to eat food, I'm going to get back to work. So I'll either order food or I'll look in the fridge and cook something. You know, maybe I'll make like a bagel or something. Something's light, so that way I could just get through and just quick and done. And then it's usually start typing up scripts, start looking at ideas, maybe look at Twitch clips to see if there's anything I want to highlight and put on YouTube, or look at schedules, like what am I doing this week, what am I doing next week, answer more emails. So, I mean, if anything, I usually spend anywhere from 10 to 12 hours a day at least on strictly work-related stuff, not including time spent eating or even just taking a break to enjoy something like LCS, which I can usually only watch like 2 or 3 games of per day. And then I go to sleep and I do it all over again. So personal time is definitely one of the things that I use most. Yesterday, actually, I didn't do any recording. I was like, you know what, I'm really tired. I'm just going to play Final Fantasy XIV like normal. Like, I'm not going to stream it. I'm not going to record anything. I ended up recording something anyway. I recorded myself healing Nidhogg, which was okay because I was in a farm group and I was just like, I'm just going to heal myself. I'm just going to record myself healing one fight. And that was the most personal time I've had that I've used probably in maybe 7-8 months. Maybe in about that time. Maybe in about that much time, 7 to 8 months. So, yeah, personal time is a big thing. I don't manage it very well, though. To be fair, I don't manage personal time. I'm someone who loves to be working and being productive. That's my problem. Like, I get my adrenaline off of being productive, having ideas and creating videos or live streaming. Like, that's when I feel at my peak. So it's those endorphins. Man, they take me over, and I'm just like, oh, it's a feel-good thing, man. I always feel good when I'm doing it. So personal time is definitely one of the things I've sacrificed, and that leads into other problems that, relationships with friends and girlfriends in this case. Things can strain pretty easily when your friends might call you up and go, yo, man, you want to do something like, nah, man, I'm working on this video. You're working on videos every night. I'm working on this video. And that happened a lot back in New Jersey when I lived there. So, that kind of leaches into everything else. So I'd say personal time is probably the biggest thing I've had to sacrifice, moving on into being a Twitch broadcaster and a YouTube content creator. All right, we're going to have one more question here for Mondays with Mr. Happy. I read through a lot of questions to get to this one because, like, when I do the live questions, a lot of them are very simple 1 or 2 word answers is the problem, and I don't want to use those for the actual live question. So I'm going to take another kind of deep one. It's kind of along the same lines as the last one. With your recent success and being a prominent figure in the 14 community, what would you say your biggest growth as a person? I kind of address this. I address this like in a video, like maybe once every 2 months, like when something big happens, like when I get a shit ton of tips, or we get a huge influx of subs, or for my 2-year Twitch anniversary, or for any of those things. But I remember, so my biggest growth as a person. So there was a point, I don't remember exactly when it was. I still lived in Jersey at the time. I released a video called My Apology, or something like that. And it was basically a point in my career where I was like, wow, I am being a complete shithead. Like that was probably making that video was pretty much my I was externalizing a lot of how I felt internally. Because when I first started making videos, I worked in New York City and I did what I did, and then I started just making videos for fun, and then it started becoming lucrative, and I was like, wow, I can just make videos and this would be amazing. And then I started streaming on Twitch, and people liked me and I felt really good. But then when Final Fantasy XIV came out, I used to encourage people who maybe weren't as far along in the game or weren't as skilled. But then there was always times where I would just turn into a complete shithead. Like if somebody came in the stream and they said, I don't like Final Fantasy XIV. Nowadays, my reaction to that is, well, hey man, you know, Final Fantasy XIV is not for everyone. I agree with you there. I know a lot of people who moved from that to Blade and Soul and they still play it, or they play Tree of Savior now because it's more up their alley. And, you know, it's perfectly fine. You don't have to like it. I just ask that you respect other people like it. Back then, I would have been like, yo, fuck this guy right here. Can everyone just, fuck you. I'm not even kidding. I can think back to a time maybe in October of 2013 when I did that. And I did that fairly frequently, and it was just not fun to watch. It was not fun. Honestly, it wasn't even fun to do. I was just like, I gotta hype people up or some shit like that. And I don't do that. I think at some point that became my kind of ego, and I didn't think I was above anyone. I never liked being put above anyone, but that didn't reflect necessarily in the way that I would treat other people. You know what I mean? Like, so I would say, oh no, I don't deserve all these player commendations. I wasn't the most impressive player. I'll say that outright. Like, it's like, I'm not like, yeah, give me commendations. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know, that Black Mage definitely deserved those commendations more or something like that. But at the same time, it's like if a player came in and he questioned something that I considered factual, I would bitch him out. I would call him out. And it would just be like a spectacle. And eventually that like bled into the way that I would handle public criticism on forums and on Reddit. And that's why like I almost wish Reddit had an anti-Mr. Happy discussion rule. Because let's say if I made a guide, right? I just make a guide and it's a guide that's there, and, you know, people can like it, they can dislike it, whatever. And somebody posts it to Reddit. Not me, because I don't post shit to Reddit anymore unless it's, like, lurking somewhere in the forums. And then, literally, the entire video is no longer about Nidhogg. It's about me versus Miztec versus Xeno versus, State of the Realm versus LBR versus that. It's literally not even about what it's about anymore. So, that's why, and that's because I perpetuated that by posting, like, public shit posting and calling people out and shit whenever they would criticize me. So what's definitely grown in that video, I can accept criticism better. I won't say I'm perfect at it, because sometimes I see a criticism, I'm like, dude, seriously? What the fuck? Like, what more do you want? What less do you want? Fight takes 12 minutes, guide is 10 minutes. What the fuck? Shorten it, bro. At that point, I'm just like, whatever. That guy fucking just wants somebody to tell him, hey, like, here's what it is. But at that point, it's like, that means that it's clearly just not what you're looking for. It's become more of a marvel to me to see how people, instead of just passively not liking something, they have to actively dislike something. You know, if I don't like something, I just walk away. It's like, this isn't really my thing. You know, I don't have to go and leave a comment like, what the fuck is this bullshit? But nowadays with the internet, it's more acceptable to actively dislike something. You know, make it a thing that you do. You log on to dislike things, or to, as some people will pretend, critique them as if they're actually critics. And it's just, handling that was so hard. Nowadays I can handle it better, but like even then there's still only a certain point I can take where it's like, dude, seriously. It's like, don't tell me how to do I read a comment the other day that said, don't tell me how to do the fight, just tell me what the mechanics are. Jesus fuck. It's literally like, that's along the lines of what it was. It wasn't verbatim. And it's like, that's not what this is. This is a guide. What fucking guide do you know that says, here's the map, good luck? Like, if you were on a mountain range, and you're like, okay, I need a guide for this mountain range, and then a guide shows up like, I'm your guide, here's the map, good luck, buddy. Like, like, when would that ever be the way that a guide actually works? You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense to me. So, like, it's just been handling things like that. I've gotten better at that. And I think that as a person, I've also grown to kind of appreciate what I have more. I have a motto nowadays, and it's a motto that I've tried to live by as closely as possible, is that I feel like as soon as you think you deserve something, you stop trying to work for anything. That's the idea that I deserve this. I don't need to put any more effort into it. This is what I'm getting. I deserve this. I deserve that. I don't need to try harder. I already deserve it. And I think that I had that mentality for a little bit, as much as I tried to preach against it. And I think nowadays I actually have that mentality. It's definitely way, way better for me. So, as a person, it's literally just been growing up and not acting like a little kid anymore. I think that's the biggest thing. Not whining whenever I don't get my way, or complaining to somebody else when I get bullied. You know what I mean? It's legit taking responsibility for what I say, what I do, what I've done, what I've said, what I've made, and just trying to make sure that the next step is better than the last step. All right, and that's actually going to be the last question we are going to take from the Twitch chat. Thank you, everyone, for coming by the live stream. Remember, because I won't be going to E3, I will be having live streams every day. One last little reminder, some of the videos here. I got to fix this. This was not, see how my hand looks kind of screwed up there? It looks like a penguin. Looks like a penguin flipper whenever I do that. There are the videos there, though, so just enjoy those. So on that note, I am going to wrap things up for this week. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I will see you for our regularly scheduled live streams, plus the few extras for the E3 conferences this week. And don't forget, Stay the Realm still on Friday. Just a reminder, Very Merry will be joining us. We will be interviewing him about being more of the comedy side. He's not a guide maker. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. That's not entirely true. I shouldn't say that, because Very Merry's got some guides. They're very funny guides. I love them. Merry shorts. They're hilarious. Go watch them. We'll be interviewing him about being a content creator on a different spectrum from the content creators you might be used to seeing on the show. And that'll be on Friday. We'll also be talking about the E3 live letter. So definitely be sure to join us for that. But on that note, everyone, I'm going to do a Twitch sign-off separately from my YouTube sign-off. I'll be hanging out on Twitch for a few more minutes to wrap things up there. But for those of you on YouTube, thank you for joining me. Be sure to ask your questions for next week in the Dream Network forums under the video. And until next time, I'll see you then. Until then, take care.